Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, part 2 of our Synology NAS video. And today we're going to be covering lots of stuff on the NAS. Security related items, how to see that shared folder we created back in episode 1, part 1, how to access that shared folder from a Windows machine. It works basically the same for Linux or an Apple machine. But anyway, I digress. We're going to be covering some security today, that kind of thing. Now, some of you are probably wondering, what kind of NAS is this that I have? Well, it's a virtual NAS. It's Synology running on a virtual machine on my virtual network, somewhere within one of those servers on my rack. It could be the Dell. It could be the IBM, but I'll never tell. No, I'm running an emulator for Synology, and I'm doing this specifically for testing purposes only, and to show y'all how to use a Synology NAS without having to actually jack with my actual DS918 Plus. It's in production. I don't want to mess with it. So we're doing all these videos virtually. What I cannot show you is how to install Synology on a virtual machine, whether it be ES6i or a VMware workstation. But there are a lot of videos out there that will. And we covered that in part 1 as to why I had to do that, or why I felt the need to do that. So without me babbling on any longer, let's get on with part 2 of the Synology NAS series of videos. Isn't virtualization fun? You play all kinds of stuff in it. Alright, enough babbling. So here we are back at our Synology, at our test NAS Synology for part 2. Now the first thing I want to show you is we're going to be dealing with security today, and then we're going to be actually copying some data, connecting up to the Synology NAS from our Windows workstation, and then we're going to copy some data over to the NAS and just see how we can manipulate it and set permissions on it, etc. And then we'll try logging other people into the NAS to test that feature. So first thing I want to do is come up here to the main menu, and there is a program on here called Security Advisor. Now I've already run this Security Advisor. I don't know if I can run it again. Yeah, I've set it for, so if we come here to Overview, I've run it. But if you come to Advanced, the first time you start up Security Advisor, it'll ask you, is it for home and personal use or for work and business? Now, for this demo, we're going to be doing setting the security for home and personal use. And I've run the scan, and let's go ahead and apply that. Yeah, no settings were changed. If I change it and come back, will it apply? Yeah, okay. So let's go to the overview. So no malware was found. DSM is working well. All users have strong passwords and all account settings are good. Now, one network setting leads to weak security and our DSM is out of date. But since we're in a virtual machine, we are at the highest version of that software that will run on a VM. So we're not going to worry about this one. But normally, you do want to keep your DSM up to date. So if we click on network here, we'll see that the SSH port has not been changed from default value. Now, the beauty is if I double click on that, it'll tell me step by step what to do. And it says, so go to control panel, terminal SNMP terminal, and change the SSH port to another value other than default 22. So if we open control panel, I'm going to disable SSH and I'm going to apply that. I only need SSH enabled on that if I'm going to do a PuTTY terminal session and go into it. So I just went ahead and disabled that. So now what I'm doing is come here and do another scan, and now you notice we're all green here. So if I go back to overview, everything is good except for our DSM being out of date. So that's a Security Advisor in its simplest form. The next thing I want to do is come here to Control Panel, and then I want to go under the Users Settings under Control Panel, and then come up here to Advanced. And these are some of your some of the other security settings we need to look at. Now I'm going to tell you right off right now, you should have secure passwords, but I know the nature of the human beings, and that is we are we are lazy and overwhelmed. Well, we're overwhelmed and then we're lazy. We get home from work, you get the kids off to school, get them home from school, make dinner. By the end of the night, you're knackered and you really are not worrying about security. But if you just take the steps to do this one time, you'll rest easier at night. So I'm going to go over the simple settings that I would recommend you set, and then you can take it from there and make your own determination as to what you want to do with security. You've got some settings here. You can allow non-administrator users to reset forgotten passwords. I wouldn't recommend that. You can force users to change the password after the administrator resets a password. Now, some of these settings apply to like a corporate environment or a business environment. If you're just running this at home, you're the administrator. You know how we went back here and we disabled the admin account and we disabled the guest account after copying admin and creating the ADAM account, which is in effect the system administrator. That's a major step you want to take. Make sure you do that. Follow along in my first video. When you first set up your DSM software on your Synology NAS, it actually makes you go through that process and create an admin user that is not using the admin login. Now, I do believe in password. Anyway, back up to this. Force users to change password after the administrator resets a password. You can set that if you want to, but in a home environment, you're probably just going to assign people passwords and be done with it. And then you have password strength rules. So right now I've got exclude name and description. These are the defaults of user from the password, and then the minimum password length. But you could force it to use mixed case, numeric characters, special characters, exclude common passwords, and then how many times it'll remember the password history. There's nothing that annoys my spouse more than having to change their password every 90 days. So I make sure not to turn this on. But a good practice would be to, change your password every 30, 60, or 90 days. The big thing with passwords is don't use the same password for every site. There's a program out there called LastPass, which I run, which will generate secure passwords and then track them for you. So generate a good password. Use something that is not, nobody else would know if they knew you or knew something about you. But you could enable password expiration right here. That's what this field is for. So read over those settings and see if they apply to you. And then they have two-step verification. I never turn that on. I find it's a real huge pain in the butt. It works, but it's just one more step you really don't need. This NAS is strictly on our local network, so I'm not going to worry about it at all. And then the other thing you can do is enable user home service, and basically what that does is it gives each user their own shared directory on the Synology NAS. I like to enable that, and that way you've got one place where everybody is kind of storing their files. You can map that folder to a Windows drive map if you wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and I'm going to enable also the recycle bin, and I'm going to put that on my largest volume right there, and you'll see where that comes into play here in a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and apply those settings right there. The next thing I want to do is come over to Control Panel and launch the security icon, and I want to go over some of the settings here. So the first one is set up your browser automatic logout timer for DSM, including the web applications. I like setting mine at 30 minutes. The default is 15, but I'm in a local area network. Nobody else uses my computer, and so I find 30 minutes is fine. Okay, now you could choose this option here to enhance browser compatibility by skipping IP checking. I don't recommend that. It provides better compatibility for browsers behind a proxy, but it will lower the security level, so I leave that turned off. The defaults here are improved protection against cross-site request forgery attacks, improved security with HTTP content, security policy CSP header, and then you could also turn on do not allow DSM to be embedded with iframe. Make sure you have clear all saved user login sessions upon system restart. That's just a good practice to have. The Synology NAS does have a firewall, but I don't use it. I have a firewall, a perimeter firewall that I use. So, but if you wanted to, you could turn that on. But it increases it puts a level of complexity into your NAS that I don't know that you need. Let's go over to protection. My network interface is LAN 1, so I could protect it from a denial of service attack, but my unit is not currently connected to the internet, and I don't have a separate interface for it, so I leave that turned off. If you want to feel better, you can enable it. I'll just go ahead and enable it. It really makes no change on this system, but if you had a bot out on one of your computers on your local network, it would protect your Synology from denial of service attack. Okay, auto block. This is very important. I always make sure, and it's enabled by default now. Auto block. So what it does is it blocks IP addresses with too many failed login attempts. Okay, I also like to change this to 5 within 5 minutes. So if somebody tries to log into your Synology NAS more than 5 times with the wrong username or password, within 5 minutes it will block them. Now, you can also enable block expiration. Otherwise, you'll have to manually come in here and click on this allow block list, because this is where the blocked IP addresses will be. If it couldn't, the problem is this is a double-edged sword. Say you forgot your administrator username and password. If you enabled auto block without a block expiration, you would never be able to log into this machine from that IP address, from your local IP address. You'd have to go to a different machine or change your IP to log in again. So use that with care. I'm going to enable the block expiration after, we'll say 5 days. That should give me plenty of time to go out and check the block list to see if anybody was denied access. Then the other thing you can do is enable account protection. So if I were to enable that, account protection will be triggered if an untrusted client fails to log in too many times in the predefined period of time. This is just one more layer of security on there. I don't enable this, but you can just read over it. Anything you're unsure of, just go do a lookup on Synology's website, and they will tell you what it means, why you would use that. But I'm going to go ahead and apply these changes. Let's come over to certificate. By default, we have a Synology.com certificate is installed. It expires in 2038, so you're good. If all you're doing is using your Synology NAS on your local LAN, you really don't need anything more than this. You're going to get a certificate error when you come into Chrome securely to your Synology NAS, but you know, it is a good certificate, and I really don't find a need to have a valid certificate just using it on a LAN. But we will cover installing an actual certificate on this system. So, and then if you come up to advanced, you have some more options you can enable. Now, by default, the TLS SSL cipher suites are set to intermediate compatibility. And then it says this setting is recommended as it provides general browser compatibility and does not support most identified insecure cipher suites. You can leave it at that, or you can change it on to modern compatibility to where it only allows modern browsers. Now, do that with care, because once selected, only HTTP connection is allowed for your surveillance station and Synology mobile applications running on Android 5 or earlier. So that is more than likely why they put it at intermediate compatibility. And then we're going to go ahead and click on apply, and to save, and you see it says no settings were changed. Alright, so the next security setting I want to show you is under control panel, and then go to network, and then come up here to DSM settings. This is one of the most important things that I would recommend that you do for your Synology NAS. And the first thing is to change the DSM ports to something other than the defaults, because everybody knows what these are. So, and we're going to automatically redirect HTTP to HTTPS. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick a random port number. So let's say 5020 for the HTTP and 5021 for the HTTPS connection. And then the other thing I'm going to do is automatically redirect, because I want to use HTTPS connections when connecting up to this NAS. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply this, and you're going to see what's going to happen. It's going to restart the web server, and then what's going to happen is Synology is going to redirect me to the secure, the SSL site, or to the secure site. So you notice now, if you look at my browser up here, and click on that, you notice it's redirected me to HTTPS, my IP address in 5021. So it's using a secure port, even though Google reports it's not secure. So we're just going to go ahead and it says here the certificate is invalid. Let me change my view here. So if I click on here, it says it's not valid, but it is from Synology, and you can see when it expires. So I'm going to click on Advanced, and I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So now if we come back here to Control Panel and to Network, wherever the hell that is, right there, and then DSM settings, you'll see now that we have changed it. We have even though it says it's not secure, it is secure within our local network. Now what I'm not going to do is enable, I'm sorry, come back here to Advanced, go back to Network and DSM, and then DSM settings. So one thing I'm not going to do is enable HTTP-2. I just don't, I don't see a need for it. I have not used it, I'm not familiar enough with it, so therefore I'm not going to use it. So the next thing we want to do is, since this is a standalone NAS and we're pretending that we're setting it up in a workgroup setting and not a domain setting, we want to come under here under Control Panel and then File Services. Now right now SMB service is enabled. There are some advanced settings under SMB, like the minimum and the maximum SMB protocol. If you had a Win server, I'm gonna suggest that you raise this to SMB 3, okay? Because you want to be able to connect with Windows 10 machines, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, and they all use SMB 3. And then I would set the minimum. Now they set the minimum to SMB 1. I'm going to recommend that you keep it set at that. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that there. And then the network settings are going to restart. All right. Now the other thing you need to change is the name of your work group. Now I am on a domain network, but I can go ahead and enter my domain name, my NetBIOS domain name, which is MCS. That way when I go to browse, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that and show you what that's going to look like. That way when I go to browse in network neighborhood, this will appear, this Synology NAS should appear underneath the network neighborhood, or I'll be able to get to it. Now, so let's see here. We covered advanced settings. So AFP. AFP is Apple's file service. So if you don't have any Apple computers on your network, you can simply turn that off and then apply it. And that's what I would recommend. You don't want to have anything running on there that you don't need. Alright, so now I'm in Windows File Explorer. So let's go down here to Network, and we'll do a refresh up here on my network and see if it finds my Synology NAS. Now, Windows 10 does have a problem with browser caching. Don't get me started on Windows 10. I'm not real happy with it right now. I know it's probably not going to find it, and as you see, it did not find my NAS, but we do know the name of it. Now you notice down here it shows a test NAS here, but if I were to double click on it, what it's going to do is it's going to take me to the device web page, which I don't want to do. So I'm just going to come up here in network, and I'm going to type a double backslash, and I'm going to type in the word test NAS. So now you see I've got a home folder. I'm now connected to TesNAS. I have a home folder, I have a homes folder, I have movies, and I have photos. So if I come under the home, it's empty, but I could create a new folder under there, call it Joe's Test. There we go. I could even copy some data to it. So let's copy some data to it. Let me copy this. And we'll go ahead and paste it, and I'll use Terracopy to copy it. Bing, bang, boom, it's coming over. There it is. There's my network documentation. Let's see here. PERC Technical Guidebook. Let's see if that worked. And it did. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to come up to my Photos folder, and I'm going to copy some photos over there. So let me come here and get some pictures. And we'll just grab some Christmas photos. So I'm going to right-click Copy. And then I'll come back up here to my test NAS, go over to Photos, and do a paste. We'll just let Windows Explorer copy that. These are small files so that you didn't get those huge copy speeds. And let's see, there we go. I got some thumbnails now, pretty little children, and my little baby girl, and all kinds of neat stuff for Christmas. So there you go. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to actually copy a video. Let's go to Unky Joe's Playhouse, and let's go to one of my finished originals, and let's pick a smaller one. Let's do like a 500 meg one if we can. Here we go, taking a break. So I'll right click, copy that, come back up here, and I'm just going to paste it here, copy with Explorer. And this is on a virtual machine, so the copy speeds are not going to be that great, but they're usable. So now I've copied a movie over there, and let's see if I can actually, you can hear it playing in the background, blah blah blah. Cut the volume down to nothing, and then there's me in my hat. Look at my beard. My damn hair was going into my mouth. Isn't that wonderful? It's my wild and woolly days. I was tired of that. But just look at, you can always tell when I'm tired. Just look at my eyes when I get tired. So yeah, there you go. So now we've copied some data over to this Synology NAS, and it appears to be working. So there you go. We've got our Synology NAS secured, and we were able to copy some data to it, to our file shares, and we enabled the services we need, and hopefully you'll have the same results I have had. Now in our next video, we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the Synology NAS. One of the things I didn't show you was how to log on to that NAS when I went and connected on a Windows share, because I had previously logged on to that NAS before. So what I'll do in the next video is show you what happens under Windows 10 when you try to connect to that Synology NAS without having logged on to it. I just didn't cover it in this video. And the other thing we're going to be doing is looking into some of the Synology, how you connect to the Synology NAS via the web browser as a user other than an administrator. Remember the dad account and the mom account we created. So what I'll do is show you how we log in using dad or mom, and what different settings, how they affect the interface on the Synology NAS. So anyway, we hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a like, smash that like button down below, leave your comments down in the comments section. If you're inclined to donate, we take PayPal and Patreon. Those are my two favorite ways of getting money. That and from YouTube. So I guess that's it for this video. So don't forget that we will see you on the other side.